to the Christian Channel. I'm your host, Yanitza Munoz. Today we have a very special guest. He is a YouTuber. His name is Quarterman. He has helped many people in Mexico by help raising money for small communities that are unfortunately forgotten. Thank you, Ford, for being on the Christian Channel today.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity to come on your channel. I appreciate it.
Yes, and right now you are in Mexico City?
I am. I wish you could see the view that I'm looking at behind the computer. I'm on the 11th floor in Roma Norte, looking at the entire city.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, I love Mexico City. My family is from Jalisco, Los Altos de Jalisco, so I'm very familiar with how beautiful Mexico is. But then, there's the other side of Mexico where there's some forgotten communities, and I love what you do on your YouTube channel. So you have about 700,000 subscribers and counting. You gain a new subscriber, I'm sure, like every minute or so. And I love your channel because you showcase the beauty of Mexico from its culture and its traditions. I also love that you showcase a lot of other parts of Mexico where there's a lot of forgotten communities that really need a lot of help. So let's dive into that. Let's talk about your charity work that you showcase on your YouTube channel. One of your episodes, you visited San Agustin, Yucatan, a Mayan community that was hit by climate change. Can you explain to me a little bit about what you did over there?
Yeah, absolutely. That was San Agustin was one community out of about, I think, 6 or 7 that I visited. I went on a 2-week bike ride with 2 of my friends to raise money to help impoverished Mayan communities. And in San Agustin, that particular community, every community had its own, needs and its own struggles. And in that particular community, they were really hit by climate change. They, as of most places in the Yucatan do, they rely on a lot of agriculture. It's a very fertile and rich area, and they used to have pretty consistent rain, but now, within the past, I guess, kind of 5 to 10 years, the rains have been far more inconsistent. So they struggle from floods. It seems to be when it rains there, it pours, it floods, it damages their infrastructure. But more often than that, they just suffer from severe drought. So they are in a part of Yucatan. Yucatan is very flat, but they're in a part of Yucatan that has a little bit higher elevation, and it makes it impossible to drill wells there. Their wells have to be 700, 800 feet, 900 feet deep, and it's very hard for them to get water. So they had a small water cistern there, but it was not enough to sustain the community. So what I used with the funds that I raised doing this bike ride all across the Yucatan, we actually rode about 500 kilometers, probably about 350 miles. It was really awesome. I used a bunch of money there to build a giant water cistern. So it was cool. It was very uplifting and fulfilling project to allow them to store water enough for drinking and also to water their crops and be self-sustainable.
That's beautiful. I applaud you for doing that because Mexico's beautiful. It's a huge country. I go there often, but then sometimes there's little pueblitos, in English means villages, that can unfortunately be forgotten. And I love that you went to San Agustin and you were really seeing the need that the people needed in that town. Also, you visited Oaxaca. You went to Tonameca, Oaxaca, and they were unfortunately devastated by the Hurricane Agatha. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like helping them?
Yeah, absolutely. In Tonameca, which is it's a municipality on the coast of Oaxaca, the southern Pacific coast. Um, it's there's a big dichotomy there. There's a lot of tourism coming in, but there's a lot of infrastructure that is just way far in the past. A lot of poverty, a lot of lack of medicines. So Agatha hit in May of 2022. It's the biggest hurricane to ever hit Mexico in May. That's pretty early in the hurricane season. And it just devastated the entire area. I mean, landslides, floods, people that were stranded for weeks at a time, because there are a lot of pueblitos, little villages up in the hills, up in the mountains that had their roads washed out, bridges washed out, and they were stranded. And with hurricane or not, many of these communities suffer from just lack of even the most basic medicines. So I did a couple projects in Tonameca. When Hurricane Agatha hit, I raised a bunch of money to help people rebuild their houses. But I also raised a bunch of money with a local friend down there named Tadrio. Shout out Tadrio. And we bought a bunch of just a ton and ton of medicine. And I have a great video on my channel about it. My parents actually came and visited me, and I think I titled the uh, the video something like "My parents weren't expecting this when they came to Mexico," and then I put like in the thumbnail I put like "We should have gone to Cancun," just a joke, to generate more clicks. But I was really proud of my parents too, which are they're getting older, and we went in a truck. We rented a truck and went way back into the hills and back into these secluded communities, and we actually had to stop and cross the river on foot, carrying these giant boxes of medicine. We crossed the river and we got to this one secluded community and replenished their centro de salud, their little clinic they have there, and gave them enough medicine probably for 2 years. And it's just something that we really don't think about. When we get a headache, we'll take a Tylenol or take an ibuprofen. I mean, even the most basic pains, stomach pain or nausea or things like that, they don't even have access to like Tylenol or like ibuprofen. So it really speaks to their resilience as a people. But it felt great to be able to provide a little bit of relief. So I did that. I raised money for some medicine, and I also rebuilt some houses during the hurricane. And I've also done projects outside of the hurricane disaster window, just raising money and building people homes to try to bridge the gap between a lot of this foreign investment coming in and the locals. People can get left behind, and it creates a division between Mexicans and foreigners, which is really the main goal of my channel. Everything that I do all types of content, a lot of travel content, cultural content, this humanitarian work. I focus on food. I do social experiments, and the main goal of my entire channel and all the content that I create is to bridge the gap between our countries and our people and our culture, and break down negative stereotypes, just to promote unity. So it's great. I mean, you mentioned I have over 700,000 subscribers. Well, there's a lot of people out there with big channels that are kind of just self-serving, and I never wanted to do that. I've always wanted to use my platform to help other people, to help the Latino people, starting with Mexico. And I want to expand to other countries, but there's just a lot of possibilities and a lot of opportunity to use the platform for the greater
Beautiful.
good.
Beautiful. Yes, I love that you're using social media and YouTube for positivity. Unfortunately, nowadays, the internet can be good and bad. Sometimes people have a huge following and they don't really post content that could help others. And here you are with your channel with actually it's about 700 and I believe 30,000. So like I mentioned, it keeps counting. For all we know, you'll be 2 million soon. So Ford, tell me a little bit more about other experiences you had in Oaxaca. In one of the videos I saw that you visited a family that unfortunately had a rundown home. It kind of resembled like a little ranchito, kind of a house that I've seen many times in Jalisco. However, this was more in the jungle because it's the Yucatan. I'm sorry, in Oaxaca, that is, specifically in Oaxaca. What was that like helping them? And is it true that you also built a house for that family?
Yeah, there's actually a couple families that we built homes for. These people are just so inspirational. They're such beautiful people inside and out. You know, there's like a saying, I don't know who it comes from, but they say, something like, the less you have, the happier you are, type of thing. And these people really exemplify that. We in the United States, we're so caught up in materialism and always having more and more and more. And a lot of people are unhappy here. And Mexico, Latin America in general's, to me, the happiest people in the world, even though they don't have as big of a middle class. There's not as much disposable income. They don't have as many toys and gadgets and stuff. So, it makes it easier to help these people when they're so friendly and happy and inspiring. And there's a couple families. I'm not particularly sure which one you're referring to, but there was this one family, for example, who they literally lived in a stick hut, and four people, and the video starts with a little girl saying, my parents sleep on this mattress, and then my brother and I sleep on this mattress, and it's open to the elements. I mean, I don't even know how they stayed dry when it rained, and when it rains, it pours down there. Talking about the hurricane and stuff. So this little girl was, coming into her adolescence, and you could just really tell that she could really benefit from some privacy. Imagine spending your whole life and not having any privacy. I mean, you sleep on a mattress right next to both of your parents, and your brother. They didn't even have a door. So imagine not even having four walls, not even owning a door to close, and knowing what privacy is. So we raised money for her. We built them a house, and we gave their family their own house, and now they have their rooms, with their doors they can close. And then there's another family that we raise money for. We start the video, telling the story. You always have to tell the story to generate some emotion with the audience, and see how they can, what these people need. And this other family that we helped was also just kind of like another stick hut, and but it was like this older couple, and they slept in hammocks underneath this stick hut, and he just sat forward as I started talking to him, and I'm recording the video, and I'm like, hold on, sit forward, let me see what's on your back. And I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of
Mosquito
mosquito
bites.
bites.
Yeah, I
I mean,
saw
he
that
just
video. It was
sleeps in
sad.
a
Poor
hammock.
guy. Hmm.
Yeah, and this is obviously physically uncomfortable. I can't imagine how much he itches, but also, down there in the tropical zones, you have malaria and dengue and all types of mosquito-borne illnesses. So it's just not good for their health either. So we raised money for that family, and that family was a bigger family. And with the help of my buddy Murph's Life, maybe some people watching this podcast will know who that is. Aaron Murphy, he goes by Murph's Life. He's got a huge platform, and we did that uh, collaboratively together. We raised money, and we built them four houses, four two-story houses, so they can once again have four walls around them, a door to shut, not so many mosquitoes, running water to their bathrooms. And then upstairs, we wanted to give them a sustainable business, because this is an area where there's a lot of tourism coming in. So they actually have sustainable income for the future. Now they have a home and a roof over their head, but they also have a business, and they rent out to tourists, or really to anyone who wants the room upstairs. And that just provides them with sustainable income for the future, just to have a more comfortable life.
Beautiful. I love what you are doing, because it's not only that you're just building the house and leaving, you're also building them a storefront so they can continue making income on their own. Sometimes people forget that, Mexico, that is, has a lot of tourism. We all know that. But me, myself, being a Mexican American, first generation Mexican, I go often to Mexico, go all the time. So I see the both sides. There is a big gap between the middle class. And when you're poor, you can be very poor there. And it's not that easy to really find a job. You end up selling chicles, which is gum on the road, or fruit, or asking people to wash, if you can wash their car. But it's beautiful that not only did you give them a home, you gave them a storefront. So maybe there they can have a little store where they can sell the chicles and the fruit, and
Yep.
anything that they would like, clothing, if anything, if they were able to make clothing. So I love that you're doing that, because you're helping that family and the bloodline of that family as well. I applaud you for that.
Exactly.
How can our audience help support you and these families in Mexico? Do you have a link where people can donate?
Yeah, so I encourage everyone to go to my social media channels. My name is Ford Quarterman, Ford like the automobile, Quarterman with a Q, Quarterman. And you can find me in all the major social media channels, and there you'll find the links and the videos to my latest humanitarian work. My next project actually is to help the people of Cuba. My girlfriend and I recently went to Cuba, and we're going to keep helping people in Mexico, but we want to go out and help people all over Latin America, where they need it. And we went to Cuba a couple months ago, and everyone knows that Cuba has a lot of problems, and Cuba's struggling with, their isolation and their communist regime there, and the trade embargo. Um, we won't get into any politics, but it's extremely difficult for them just to put food on the table. It's extremely difficult for them to save any money whatsoever. And despite of all that, they're just amongst the happiest and most resilient people you will ever meet. Speaking Spanish really unlocks this. You can go to these countries and they're naturally beautiful with very rich cultures. Anyone there can see that. But learning Spanish really has just opened these doors for me to get to know these people on a deeper level, and just the amount of inspiration that you find in the Cuban people and with their spirit is super, super impactful. So we recently went, a couple months ago. We recorded a couple videos. We took some basic medicine and a little bit of food, but we really want to go back and with a lot more resources and help a lot more people in a similar way that I did with the bike ride in Yucatan. Kind of get on a bike and just go through the countryside and find these little pueblitos and these little places off the beaten path and meet people, and get to know them and really see how we can help change lives. So by the time this podcast is posted, you will see in some of my most recent posts, my videos. YouTube is where I get most of my views. You'll see some Cuba content, and you will see the link there to a fundraiser that we're going to be raising money for our next trip back. So thank God we had the opportunity to go a couple months ago. We created documentary style content, and you will see very visually represented these people's resilient spirit. You'll see that their need, their lack of resources, their hope, which is quickly dying in Cuba. They've had a hard time for decades now, but a lot of people don't know, since the pandemic a couple of years ago, they've not recovered at all. They're a country that depends on tourism maybe more than any other to survive. And tourism has not reactivated since the COVID pandemic. They're going through maybe the worst moment they've ever gone through since the Cuban Revolution. And I mean, similar to what they call the periodo especial, the special period, which is in the early 90s when the Soviet Union collapsed, which was their main economic benefactor, their main trading partner. When the Soviet Union collapsed, I mean, we're just talking about widespread famine, people just so skinny they can barely even stand up and walk around because they're dizzy. And they're going through a very similar moment right now after the pandemic. They have not reactivated the tourism. It's so sad. And in spite of all of that, they receive you with a smile. They cook some spaghetti or whatever they can whip up for you. You guys will see some of the videos on my YouTube channel. You're going to be very inspired I think to visit, and also hopefully to donate to this project that we're putting together the next time we go back to Cuba. So I encourage everyone to go to my channel's Ford Quarterman, and you will see some of this content that I'm referring to. You'll see the links in the descriptions and how to donate. And it's super cool because you will then see your donations visually represented in the next videos. When we go back, you'll see exactly where your donations are going. 100% of donations will go directly to the Cuban people. And you'll get to see how you yourself are changing lives. I think it's a great model.
Amazing, amazing what you're doing for Latinos, for Mexicanos, para Cubanos. I have a big heart for Cubans. My aunt married a Cuban man, so I have a lot of cousins that are half Mexican, half Cuban, and my uncle always has wild stories from when he escaped Cuba. And I love what you're doing, and everyone that is tuned in here to the Christian channel, I highly recommend to check out his YouTube page and see all of his amazing content, giving back to the community. Also, I love that you have channels with your channel that is, you show the culture of Latin America. And sometimes people, when they migrate to the US, they can't often visit. So they probably see your videos and they feel nostalgic seeing a lot of amazing parades, saint days. My family's from San Miguel, so we just had our saint day in September. And right now you're in Mexico City, so you probably were there for All Saints Day y para los Días de los Muertos también. So anyone who wants to have nostalgic memories and haven't traveled back to Mexico recently, specifically Mexico, check out his videos. He has some amazing content. Ford, do you have a favorite Bible verse?
I don't know if I have a favorite Bible verse, but one of my favorite Bible verses is 1 Peter 4:8, which says, "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins." And I love that verse because a lot of people in the Christian community, I grew up Christian, from Georgia, from a very Christian family and church, youth group, all that. And, unfortunately, a lot of people get focused on um, the legalistic aspect of it, kind of like the Pharisees, almost, like where you have to prove what you do, your acts, and you have to like almost build kudos up within the church. Or, obviously people have a very, very hard time struggling with sin, but we all sin. Jesus is the only one who didn't sin. We all sin and fall short of the glory to God,
And he
of
died on
the
the
glory of
cross
God,
for
right? Was
our
that
sins, which is good. Yeah.
exactly? So a lot of people think, like, because everyone knows what they struggle with deep down inside, and a lot of people think they're not worthy to help, or they have to do it like a missionary or something. Like they're not well versed enough with the word, or they just have deep down guilt. But the important thing to remember, which is stated in the 1 Peter 4:8, is love covers all sin. So everyone can love. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you have money. It doesn't matter if you have a big following. It doesn't matter if you have the ability to even leave your own community. You can spread the kingdom just by showing people love. And you never know who that will help. You never know what people are going through, and it covers all sins. It covers all of your sins. And so wherever you are, whatever if you have limited resources, if you have an abundance of resources, Jesus is all about love. God is love. And just take that with you in your everyday life, and you are serving a purpose.
Beautiful. Very well said, Ford. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Christian channel. And I highly recommend to subscribe to Ford's channel and to all of his social media handles. And I'm going to put them up here on the bottom of the screen. Ford, what were they again?
Ford, it's just my name, Ford Quarterman. Ford Quarterman with a Q. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, mostly active on YouTube. So that's where you'll see the long form content. That's where you'll see all the stories, documentary style content. I like the long form content because it gives me a better chance to accurately capture what's going on and to better tell the stories. So no TikTok dances from me. Sorry, y'all.
Well, I love your documentary style that you have portrayed on YouTube. You are definitely an indie filmmaker in my eyes, and you've done a wonderful job in helping the communities of Latino America, and especially in Mexico and in Cuba soon, because you've already filmed, but you haven't really started more of your mission there. And I love what you plan to do for the community in the near future. And again, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Christian channel. I'm your host, Yanitza Munoz. And we highly recommend for you guys to subscribe to our channel to stay updated with all of our educational content, and visit thechristianchannel.com. It's christianchannel.com so that you can subscribe to our family fun movies. Also, check out Renewal Rain. They are a great company that we are proud to have part of the Christian channel. Till next time, everyone, God bless.